Hello, hello.
Hello.
Nice to see everyone. Everyone's on time today. We're 1 minute behind, but everyone else is on time today.
Yeah.
Nice to see everyone in chat. Justin, Ben. Looks like
See
got some new
John
people too.
Beatty,
John Beatty's around.
MM, Mateo, and Asha. Nice to see you guys here.
Yeah, it's nice to see everyone here. Another week, yet another stream. I guess for it looks like we've got some new people watching. So, what are we going to talk about today? And then we'll just go through the intro.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking a little bit about the beta testing going on at 3DQ. Um, so what it's like to be a beta tester, what we've done in the past when we did beta testing for various uh, products like the Prusa, Quinley for Prusa, um, and also how beta testing for Ultimaker is going to work. So there's a bit of information here, and we're gonna give you some stories about like what you can kind of expect as a beta tester, and um, sort of our process, like how we develop kits, how we use feedback from beta testing, and how we use that to create like fully functional final products.
Yeah. So if you're interested in hardware engineering, hardware design, software design, and just product development in general, this is a stream for you. And as always, I mean, it looks like most of you have the hang of it already, but as always, make sure to post any questions in chat. This stream is gonna be, there's gonna be we're gonna aim to have a lot of back and forth with you guys. So, looking forward to that. And yeah, I guess before we get into anything, we should introduce ourselves. For anyone new here, I'm Mateo Pekic. I'm one of the co-founders of 3DQ, and I'm joined by Steven today.
Yep, I'm the product lead at 3DQ
For what
for
product?
Quinley.
Oh, Quinley,
That's our product.
our product. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Quinley is an automation kit that allows you to automate any asterisk printer.
Annie.
Any in the sense that we're compatible with any printer, and the whole point of the stream today and the whole point of the beta tests we've been running is to get this kit adapted to every printer.
Yeah, because in theory we're able to work with every FDM printer. It's just we need a mechanism of clearing parts away, which, that's why we have beta testers, so you can help us come up with that solution. So with every printer, it's a little bit different. And we want to make sure it works 100% of the time, every time. So
Yeah.
yeah, all this beta testing is really useful.
And actually, a question that I get asked pretty often is why we designed Quinley as a kit versus just a new printer. And I think that's sort of where the automation stands apart and where it starts to get very interesting down the line in the future, is because we can automate any existing printers, people who own 3D printers don't have to worry about switching to new systems or worry about adapting their entire work process around a new type of 3D printer. There's already 4.5 million FDM 3D printers out there, so it would seem wasteful not to take advantage of those that people are already used to and just help bring those up to the next level by automating them.
Yeah, like we specialize in the automation of 3D printers. There are other people who specialize in building 3D printers. They're kind of different, very related, but they're quite different.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for us to specialize in what we're good
Kevin,
at.
Kevin has
Yes.
an important message. Smash that like button, everyone, please,
Good message.
with two exclamation marks.
Kevin is actually one of our very first customers. So he's like an OG like beta tester basically. He was one of our very first Quinley customers.
Yeah, before it was just, yeah, he's got a very, very early kit. Um, and I mean, he's gotten kits since, so firsthand he can see just how much the product has developed, like the product development progression, and um, can also and actually the reason we're even able to make so many changes so quickly. Just over the course of a year, we probably shipped 5 major variations of the Ender 3 kit at this point.
Yeah, I think it's like there was maybe four that we've documented fully, and then there was like a little blending of the kits at one point. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, about five sounds about right.
But the only way we could do that is because we rely on high volume 3D printing for all our production. So we get to leverage all the cool benefits of 3D printing, but we can also push that into the high volumes required for production. So when we make a change that we like, just hit a button in Quinly and make 100 of those parts, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about a couple examples later where we need to make a very slight change to a part and immediately it gets implemented and all the future Quinly kits that get sent out have this upgraded feature on a part.
Actually, Ben is saying I would think there are more than 4.5 million printers. In just the first week the Ender 3 was sold, they moved 500,000 printers. I didn't know that stat,
It's an
but
insane amount of
I think
printers.
it's 4.5 million active printers. So any printers that aren't over 5 years old kind of get counted in that. Um, but Ben, I'd be curious to know where that number came from. Every single study, like every market report I've been looking at, has said right now it's about 4.5 million. So if they sold 500,000 in one week, either, yeah, I wonder where all those went. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of 3D printers just to move. Like, think about how many boxes that were. That was
A lot, probably.
like 500,000 or something.
Oh, we got Bruce in chat as well. Nice to see you, Bruce.
Hello,
Bruce
Bruce.
is a professional Twitch streamer, so he's gonna give us some pointers. Um, but yeah, let's actually get into the main topic for today, which is why are we doing beta testing with the community, and why should you become a beta tester, or why should you encourage your friends to become testers as well? Um, and I think, yeah, why, Steven? Why?
Yeah, well, we want to bring Quinly to more people, and the only way to do that is by supporting more 3D printers. Um, and this is going to be like an ongoing thing because people are still making new 3D printers, and they're kind of even existing 3D printers are getting tweaked and upgraded. So we need kind of a group of people who are like good at Quinly basically to help us sort of expand our product line to be able to fit every printer on the market eventually.
Yeah, and the benefit to you is that if you have a printer that and you are using it like it's a workhorse machine, you're using it to make product or sell your prints or even just print internally for your business or for your own purposes, um, it'd be nice to have automation for that printer and to have that automation work in exactly the way you want it to do. So I think a good example, the automation with Quinly is, there's the software and the hardware side, and I can speak more about software, but a really good example of this is the new UI that everyone's now moved to. And we spent a really long time discussing with our highest, like our basically our super users, the people who you were pushing Quinly the hardest and using it the most. Um, we had interviews with those customers and community members to see like how they were using it now and how they wanted Quinly to work in order to work the best for them. So we're planning to extend that because it was so successful. Actually, I was looking at survey results from the UI change, and it was basically a, I think, nine out of 10 average ranking, like for,
Great.
yeah,
That's
it's like
pretty
really,
good.
really positive, which is, yeah, very rare for a big UI change. But the main reason I think it was so positive is that the changes were literally decided on by you guys for you guys. So it's not like we were imposing anything on how you have to work with the machines. And I think that's what's going to be the most important thing moving forward as automation starts to scale 3D printing. We need to foster a community of super users, experts who are using 3D printing for anything imaginable and constantly gathering feedback from that community to make sure that the product works in the right way for them and that the correct things are prioritized as well. So, for example, we have a lot of people who use Quinly for Etsy.
Yep.
So we've started looking at things like potentially doing integrations where you can import orders and stuff like that. So that's like one example of a type of feature that could be prioritized depending on if there are a lot of that type of user. And that's a type of thing you can have a say in, if you're running Quinly and if you're involved in the community. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this beta program, is trying to get automation into the hands of as many people as we can, and then gathering feedback so that we can build a system that is, comprised of the collective experience of hundreds of people.
Yeah, like a lot of the beta testers that we take all their feedback and kind of combine it into Quinly, which then makes Quinly as good as possible for as many people as possible. So the overall experience becomes like as good as it can be, really. You can only do that based on feedback because we use it for ourselves as our own print farm, but
we use it our own way.
yeah, we're doing it our own way. We're creating our products in-house and everything. You guys are doing the same thing too, but probably in some very different ways. So we want it to be as generally applicable as possible. And if you become a beta tester and give us that feedback, it'll become sort of better suited for what your needs are.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to be the first ones to get your hands on some really cool tech. And there are a bunch of other kind of incentives to being the first to try this because yeah, it basically gets built for you and for your community. So I think along those lines, as we get into that and unpack the beta program, maybe if you guys in chat, if there are any features that you know of or that you've thought of that you would like to see implemented, or want us to talk more about, like future features, post them in chat and then we'll get back to them in a couple minutes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. I know there's a lot of good suggestions out there that we'd like to hear sort of what you guys have.
Yeah.
There's a good question from Justin here. Will there be a beta section on Discord?
There are 10 beta sections.
There are 10 beta sections on Discord.
Yeah.
So if you're currently in a beta testing program and you're not in those sections, send me a message because I'll put you in that section.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends. We've sectioned it based on what kit you got for beta. Yeah, I think there are literally 10 sections, but only 5 of them are active right now.
Yeah, so there's the beta testers lounge, which everyone's in, and then you'll also be thrown into, like, say you have a CR10S, then you'll get also thrown into the CR10S beta section on Discord, and that'll help us sort of keep the discussions organized because it'd be really confusing if everyone was talking about all printers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to keep it sort of segmented in one way, but then everyone gets to talk in beta testers lounge for things like UI or maybe just general chatter.
Yeah.
From Bruce, you still need to order the beta kit. Have they shipped yet? So the answer is they will be shipping soon, within like 3 to 5 days. So either late this week or early next week, beta kits will ship. But that doesn't mean you can't order them still. So you have not missed the boat for the Sidewinder X2. We're still accepting beta orders.
Yeah, and we'll talk about how it's structured as well. But to answer your question, no. Did we pack any today? Or was it just CR10?
We packed CR10 kits today.
Okay.
And I think Sidewinder kits too, actually.
Some sidewinders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
So
think I saw a couple.
yeah, we have kits packed, shipping them in the next couple days. Maybe some on Monday too. Depends how much we get done. We do have Remembrance Day coming up tomorrow.
Yeah. And we shipped Ultimaker. That's another big
Oh,
one.
we shipped Ultimaker. Yeah, we did a lot of work on Ultimaker. Behind
We'll
the
show
scenes,
that quick.
that was a pretty intense one.
That was probably, yeah, that was a complicated kit.
Yeah,
Um,
27 printed parts in total in that kit. Some of them duplicated, so more like 32. And yeah, it's a lot of parts.
yeah.
Um,
It's exciting to see it land in the hands of, yeah, we've got a couple large universities that rely on Ultimakers that are testing it now, and that's going to be exciting to see.
yeah,
Um, I should mention the last thing, if the last reason to get involved, is through this like subset of the community, the super user group or beta tester, you'll get to have a really close look at how automation works and how automation is implemented. And you'll be surrounded by a lot of other people who are really pushing the limits of 3D printing. And it's just an amazing knowledge resource in terms of what's the best way to run your machines for, for production, or solving common problems. Actually, I had a really funny conversation with someone a few weeks ago where they had just started using 3D printing for their business, and they'd been using it for about 6 months, and we were talking through all the problems he experienced actually he was using manual printers, but all the
mhm.
problems he experienced setting up the print farm. And it was like exactly the same progression of issues that we experienced when we
Yeah,
started setting up our farm last year.
yeah,
Um, so I think a lot of people are going on the same journey. And if we can, create a community where people can share that information to prevent, weeks or months being lost to silly problems, or if there are solutions that we can build into Quinly to prevent those problems, that's a kind of discussion that you can expect to see there.
yeah. Well, that's what we're good at. We're humans. We're good at passing along information. That's why we're so good.
Yeah.
So why don't we do more of that?
Justin's asking, does the program send a message when it runs out of filaments? If your printer has filament out, then yes.
So you need a filament runout sensor. So actually, some of the CR10s and I think Sidewinder versions have a filament sensor.
Yeah.
So part of the beta testing on that will be making sure it works on those printers.
Yeah, making sure that it works consistently.
Yeah.
As Bruce would know, the Prusa one is kind of tricky.
Hmm.
I'm sure he'd love to talk about that. Apparently, it's really hard to fix when it breaks.
I guess another good point here for why you should become a beta tester is we will help support any mods you make to your printer as long as they're reasonable. Because we want to support everyone, and if you do a mod that improves your productivity, we want to support it so that your printer can be super productive with Quinly. Um, so, another benefit is if you're a beta tester, that gets prioritized. It has a sense.
Yeah, sensor.
A sensor, sure.
Uh,
It doesn't detect clear filament or something, I remember hearing. Something about
it uses
optical.
like a ball bearing, I thought.
Oh, well, that would make more sense.
The Ender 3 Max does. John,
Ender 3 Max. Ooh.
I have the 350 millimeter beds in hand. Oh no, Ender 3 Max is, I keep confusing
That's
with Ender
another
5.
300 by
Yeah,
300.
we have that right here.
Yeah, big vapor coming up.
Ooh. Oh, it didn't get green screened out. It's fortunate.
Well, yeah, because we have a yellow screen. We're different like that. Encoder runout sensor. Oh, that's the one where it spins around.
My Ender. I don't know. That's
Depends what message it sends to the printer, I think.
yeah, that's what we'll have to test.
Yeah,
That's
so
yeah, that's
that'll be fun. That's actually useful. Like that, those encoder sensors are strictly better as long as they work reliably. It tells you if filament stops moving.
Mm-hmm.
even if it's still got filament in there.
So, one last thing. Oh, I lost it. Okay, let's move on to the next. Must not have been that important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we talked about that. One of the key things about testing with the community as well is there are a lot of edge cases that you encounter in 3D printing. And what's interesting is a lot of these cases are actually very, very, very rare. But when you're running automated 3D printers, if you think about it, you're printing way more than you ever would be. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, these issues that are inherent to just 3D printing in general start to come up more and more frequently, and we have to come up with different ways of solving them. Like you'll start to encounter really weird things um, that you never would have expected, whether it comes to, slicing, but thinking about slicing over long production runs or things with your printer. I think one interesting thing that we discovered when we started running our print farm was that plastic filament can literally slice through brass extruder handles,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, if you print miles and miles or kilometers and kilometers of plastic, it'll eventually wear a groove into your extruder to the point where the teeth are like they're just smooth and they don't grip the filament anymore.
I wasn't even talking about that. Remember
I can pull up that picture.
the extruder arms got chopped by the
Oh yeah, the filament would wear
yeah,
through it.
the
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
arm that you squish to tension your extruder because again, this is one of those really non-obvious things, but because of the way we were mounting the filament in our printer rack, it was coming into the extruder at an angle, and the extruder is pulling the filament at this angle, and only because we were printing so much, um, because the printers are automated, did we actually experience the case where the filament just slowly started wearing away at the edge of the extruder to the point where it basically cut through and got stuck and broke the extruder. Yeah, the extruder input hole.
Here's the picture.
Plastic ender arms always fail that way. But this was with like a brass bushing inserted because they
Yeah,
used to fail really quickly, but it actually cut completely through the brass, which I did not expect. And the weirdest part was it happened over the course of like 3 weeks.
yeah. It wasn't a typical like ender extruder crack. It was
Literally
sawing through
sawed through like a bandsaw.
the brass insert and then the plastic underneath.
Yeah, like a bandsaw.
I don't know if I have a picture of that, but I found a picture of another really weird wearing out case. Um,
Are you throwing it in the drive?
yeah, it's in that drive. It's uploading.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, but is this uncommon?
No, well, this is what happened to us first. So, but before our thing would wear out, like by sawing, it would destroy the teeth on our extruder gear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can see, the one on the left is totally ruined just by running miles of filament through it. And the one on the right, you can see it was used a little bit, but that's kind of like a halfway through.
Ben said it happens to the aluminum extruder as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
basically, if you'll learn like if your filament angle, the angle of approach has to be correct, otherwise it will just saw through your filament,
Yep.
your extruder arm. But it's that kind of stuff that you only notice when you're doing like really, really high intensity testing.
Mhm.
And the fact that it happens so often, like you shouldn't have to expect to replace your extruder assembly every month or two.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous. So you have to come up
Yep.
with a solution for how do you mount the filament in a way that it won't do that.
Yeah, because these printers weren't designed to do this much printing. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird to say it, but they have a lifespan in mind. And what we're trying to use it for is not what they were expecting.
Yeah, so you have to come up with clever solutions to prevent the printers from going. And that being said, too, like we are still using enders that we bought over a year and a half ago now. So it's not like the enders are can't be used for automation at all. It's just that we
Mhm.
need to understand where their shortcomings are and make adjustments to them.
Yeah, it's actually mainly just like a few components that need to be upgraded, but the whole printer is still a perfectly good machine. The motion system's been great. You know, if you take care of it, print
Yeah.
properly, it's pretty good actually.
Ben says makes a case for stainless steel hob gears, and
Yeah,
that's what we use. We've switched whenever the brass gear wears out. We pretty much switched them all to stainless, I think now.
yeah, yeah. We have stainless on everything. There's also tool steel gears, which are cool. They're super
Oh,
sharp.
that's cool. It
Yeah,
probably chops filament in half.
it could do, yeah, but it looks those things probably don't wear out at all.
So, should we talk about actually the process of designing a Quinley kit? And before we get into that, thank you everyone for throwing a like on the video. Kevin, you did a good job encouraging everyone right at the beginning of the stream. We've already got 20, which is more than last time. But yeah, thanks. So let's get into actually designing a Quinley kit. Now, there's two parts to it. One part is hardware, the other part is software. And at this point, we've kind of nailed down the hardware. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, so what we found, like our very first Quinley, we were like, okay, let's get it 90 degrees so the parts fall off.
Hmm.
And that was our initial kind of QPod idea that we've talked about in previous streams. And then we figured out, okay, so it's kind of weird if we want to sell this to people. It's kind of weird if we have their printer completely 90 degrees. It's pretty awkward and weird.
It's awkward for like, yeah, for when you have one printer, it just requires so much hardware to flip.
Yeah,
This is what we're talking about. You can keep talking. I'll just pull up images.
yeah. So yeah, it turned out that you only need like a few, like 20 to 30 degrees of tilt for parts to get pushed off reliably. And the keyword is reliably, which, you know, if parts fall off 99 times out of 100, well, then that means sometimes parts will get stuck and you're going to have messed up prints or your printer's going to break. So um, it's really important for us to get that, first of all, like make sure that tilting is an effective method of part clearing. And once we found out, yes, it is, we needed to make sure that um, like it would always be an effective method of part clearing. And so from what we found so far, pretty much every printer that's an FDM like bedslinger i3 style printer, tilting works just fine. Some of them need to be tilted a little bit less. The Ender 3s get about 30 degrees, the CR10s get about 20. Um, Same for Prusa. Um, but yeah, tilting works great for these machines. There's a few other machines out there that don't work the same as these guys, such as the Ultimaker. And in that case, we can't tilt it. It has to actually clear apart using an additional robotic arm. So Mateo's going to show the Ultimaker here um, using that robotic arm to clear the part.
Yeah, it's too heavy to tilt.
Yeah. And honestly, it would just kind of look weird.
Yeah,
With a box like that, it would look pretty weird. With Quinley's, it almost looks cool. I think it looks kind of just like a different configuration for a printer. But in this case, it looks like a box that's about to tip over. So
yeah, and the Ultimaker's pretty heavy. I think it would be easy to tip over if accidentally if it was tilted like that.
yeah, there's also the issue that the nozzles don't actually move down. The bed
Right.
moves up, so that parts would just get stuck in the top.
We can get into that. I hope we weren't streaming audio there.
Oh, I don't think
I
it.
think it was okay. Should be
Yeah.
muted.
So yeah, we on our side before we launch a beta, we figure out how are we going to clear parts reliably from this printer. Does it make sense to do automation for this printer? And there also has to be some level of demand for that in the first place. So the reason we're doing betas for CR10, Sidewinder, and CR6 SE is because those are the printers that you guys have most and want automation for most. Um, So yeah, we're gonna show a few pictures of our initial prototypes for our beta kits. So this one is CR10,
Which we showed on stream a
which we
few
showed on
weeks
stream
ago.
last week.
So last
Yeah,
week. Oh yeah. No, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago
Yeah. Last week we did slicing.
for CR10.
Or CR10. Right.
Yeah,
Oh my
time flies,
jeez.
or it
Okay.
doesn't.
No,
But
I don't know. Who knows?
yeah, so Sidewinder is a cool one because this doesn't really require a whole lot of hardware because um, we usually include some sort of ramps on the printer to deflect parts from getting stuck in there. But as you can see on the artillery Sidewinder, it's got these nice sheet metal um, enclosures at the bottom, and they just act as those ramps. So we don't have to have actually too many additional printed components for this one.
Yeah.
Um, so it's pretty minimalistic, but I mean, that's kind of our whole idea of Quidney, like keep it as simple as it needs to be. Like, why make it complicated?
Keep the hardware simple and try to build as much as you can into the software, which is
Yeah,
where actually most of the automation happens. The hardware is just kind of like a necessity, right?
yeah, yeah. Because really the power of hardware it only goes so far as to literally tilt the printer and ensure parts don't get stuck.
Hmm.
Everything else, all the improvements to be made are in the software.
Yeah. So it's basically once you get the hardware up to standard for automation, then everything else you can build on top of that in the software. Um, Bob's asking, so is direct drive better than Bowden? Wear and functionality? The Ender 3s all run Bowdens that we use and they work fine. I wouldn't say like once you have things dialed in that we've replaced all the hot ends, but there's still Bowden E3DV6 hot ends.
Hmm.
Um, it works. I don't know. It works very reliably. I don't think we've had any Bowden specific failures.
Yeah, not really.
It's mostly the extruder or the hot end.
Yeah, the tubes have been great. Honestly, the tubes don't wear out.
No,
They're pretty
not
nice.
not really.
They're good. We just have the basic stock tubes on a lot of the printers.
But yeah, direct drive lets you print uh flexibles and print much faster. And I don't know. I,
Yeah. There's the downside though that it makes the hot end heavier.
yeah, that's
So
and I
take her to leave it.
I'm more partial to having a lighter hot end because you can work around Bowden in your slice settings. So I'm more partial to Bowden. Um, that being said, I've used the direct drive on our Prusa and it's really nice. It's very precise too. You have to worry less about like what is that like springiness of the tube.
Yeah. Linear advance has less
Right.
necessity, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, retractions are super short. Makes your print speed a bit quicker too, because retractions like last week we saw 2 hours of retractions because we were doing these back and forths for 4 millimeters or something. So
Yeah.
direct drive has its benefits, but I don't think it's strictly better than Bowden. It's just different in
Depends on your
better in
use
certain
case.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so we were talking about the tilt and reliability is the number one thing when it comes to designing this. So for every piece of kit that we add to the printer, we have to make sure that no matter what part you print, it doesn't get caught anywhere, or the chances of it getting caught or getting stuck are very, very low. We don't want automation to decrease the reliability of your machine.
Hmm.
And that actually takes a lot of work and a lot of design thinking. How do you get the printer in this orientation? How do you account for almost any shape part being on and tumbling off of that print surface in a way that doesn't interfere with the machine? Because these are machines are not built for parts to be coming off of them without someone just picking it off, like straight up picking it off.
Yeah.
So
For the Ender 3 specifically, we have the most amount of ramps for that because it's kind of got a lot of parts around the bed, in places that parts could actually get stuck. So like for example, the LCD screen is parts could get stuck under there. So the Ender 3 has the most amount of ramps. Um, and we're actually kind of realizing that we want to be trying to use like as few printed parts as possible just to keep the kit simple. Um, but we don't want to have like not enough coverage. So the Ender 3 is probably the most reliable one once you put all the ramps on because there's like no way parts are going to get stuck. Um, yeah, but it's just certain printers are just better suited for Quinley. So for example, the Sidewinder looks like a good candidate because it's got those sheet metal ramps already built into it.
Mm-hmm. And actually, speaking of ramps in general, there is the Prusa, which has gone a lot of iterations on its ramp because the Prusa is really tricky, was really tricky to automate because the whole bottom is open and a part can come off the bed when the bed is in any position. So if you imagine the bed being all the way at the back, there's going to be a huge hole in the front of the Prusa that parts are going to get stuck in. They're going to get stuck in these linear rails or on the belt as well. So we had to design a bunch of things. We had to design internal ramps that sit under the bed that block parts from just falling straight through or getting caught. But the other thing that we designed, the most like unique feature of the Prusa kit is this front ramp. And the reason for this ramp is that there's a belt that goes here in the printer and there's like a little gap in the front ramp in the bottom where that belt is. And small parts were getting jammed in that gap and then the bed would just crash into it.
Mm-hmm. It's just like there was no way around it. There's no way to cover that gap because there's no clearance and it's really hard to get any parts around it without blocking the belt itself. So actually you could show the progression of the front ramp.
Right. So first what we did was, okay, we installed a ramp that moves along with the bed that will keep that crack mostly covered. But then what we realized was really small parts would go straight down and still fall into that belt
Yeah,
crack.
it's like a 1 in 100 chance, but
Yeah.
it would still sometimes happen.
Yeah. So the first set of Prusas, we sent out 8 Prusa betas, and the first set had this flat front ramp, and people fairly quickly discovered, yeah, small parts or parts with like hooks would actually get jammed in that crack where the belt is. So what we figured out was this design, which is just a slight raised area on the front of the ramp. And under most circumstances, right, the part just, if it's a big part, the part just goes straight over it. But if it's a really small part, like the ones that we have issues with, those will actually slide down and deflect off the side towards the side of the printer so that it doesn't get caught in the printer's belt.
And actually, during our stream, there's some background footage where you'll see some parts get deflected by this ramp.
Oh yeah.
Some of the shots are pretty cool too. There's like a trick shot one which I really like.
Nice to see you, Al. Thanks for joining this stream. But
Yeah,
let's see.
we're gonna show off the background footage. Oh, that's me.
There's
Oh,
you
I'm there.
twice.
Yeah, we have stock footage.
Our own stock footage.
Yeah, we needed some
Okay.
like here we go. This is it.
So you can see the front ramp for smaller parts deflects them off to the side. Because you can see, oh, you can't see my mouse. Actually, let me show you this.
But you can see the gap right where the y-axis ends.
Yeah.
It's kind of the y-axis pulley.
You can see that
Here we go.
right here.
Wait, transition it.
Oh, right. Right here, there's a hole. And this hole is impossible to design out because that's where the linear bearing for the bed goes. And so there was a tiny chance parts would get stuck in there. And that's why we added this front ramp, which you can see actually deflects any parts that are kind of heading towards that hole.
In this case, this part is probably big enough not to get caught, but it's pretty close to being big and like small enough.
Yeah. So you can see how actually the hole is pretty long. So you could think of thin parts without that front plow or buffer would just kind of get sucked right in there, and then the belt, they grind the belt and stuff.
Yeah. So we can't block that. It's the belt.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like it's stuff like that that you really have to think about when designing these kits, and it ends up being a lot more iterative than you'd think at first glance. Because once you get the ramps and install them, you're like, yeah, this works, right? But
Mm-hmm.
to actually get them to that point takes a lot of design.
Yeah, Justin, you said you have to heat the ramps to get the inserts in. So that's another thing that we like super recently, like yesterday, we changed the model for that so that you won't have to do that anymore.
Yeah,
So we can actually show on the back on the
yeah.
drive.
I'll show that.
One of our users, I think it was Bill, said, yeah, just turn two of those into slots. And so now if you see on this photo here, well, Mateo's gonna show it. Two of the slots are like on the left and the right, they're actually like actual slots rather than holes. So this means there's a little more room for the standoffs to go inside. And just for the printing profile in general, we just made the slots just like half of a, what is it, 0.05 of a millimeter bigger so that the standoffs would fit because they were a bit tight. They were like a push fit. Some people said they had to drill them out slightly. So yeah, now this should be a lot better for everyone. You shouldn't have to post-process your part once you get it. It should just work right away.
And it's strange too because it fit for some people but not for others.
Yeah, so Jack actually, one of our very well-known beta testers, is said, yeah, his parts just fit perfectly. Other people say, oh, it's off by half a millimeter. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe our parts are warping in the heat of, shipping containers, or maybe Prusas are just slightly off or something.
Yeah,
Hard to know.
it doesn't, and in the end, it doesn't matter. We just need to design something that will work and fit
Yeah.
on the machine.
So that's exactly the kind of ways that we use beta feedback to like quickly and like implement changes that affect everyone.
Al has a good question. Would it not be possible to add a dust brush around the opening to prevent parts from falling in but still allow the bearing to move through? The problem is you could have really heavy parts with a thin profile that would end up, pushing through or getting caught in the brush. But I think a combination of a brush and the shield would definitely, a brush would help more. I
Yeah,
think.
well, because of like a secondary safety net kind
Yeah,
of thing.
but I think only a brush wouldn't have solved the problem. I think you
Yeah.
would need both.
So yeah, we don't really want to do like 50% solutions. It's got to always work pretty much.
Yeah, or even 99.9% solutions because
Yeah.
people are going to print 1,000 things on their printer with Quinley, so it
Mhm.
needs to work 1,000 times.
Yeah. So actually another thing we did recently, I can't really show it, but we changed the way that the printer wipes. So instead of just going like forward and then back and forward, it actually goes like forward and then it raises up to go back and then it goes back down and repeats. And this was stopping like a 1% case where a part wouldn't get pushed on the way forward, or it would, and it would get rotated weirdly and then get pushed off the back of the printer on the way back.
Right.
And then it would get stuck in the wheels and cause the bed to go unlevel, and then everything would go like mental. So we fixed that. Parts should only get pushed off to the front, not to the back. So
And it's one of those things that we don't even discover until sometimes in some cases even printers have gone out and then we'll realize, oh, someone is printing this part we never considered, and
Hmm.
now we have to start changing the process in the software to account for it.
Yeah.
Um,
So why don't we go into the software? What do we do in software when we launch a new beta for a printer?
sure. So the I guess the design philosophy for Quinley softwares is a bit different than other printer hosts in the sense that we try to make it as configuration free as possible.
Hmm.
So when you hook up your printer to Quinley, you don't have to go through a whole bunch of menus and select exactly what your printer does and doesn't have enabled. Quinley will support it whether it does have it enabled and or will deactivate it whether it's not enabled. So if you have a printer with filament out, if the filament out is there, Quinley will know to look for that and to work around that. But if it's not, then it changes its behavior accordingly. And you don't have to do any setup for that. So when you plug a new printer in, we have to create basically a profile for each printer where we tune that printer's behavior to work best for automation. Um, and and when you plug Quinley in, it'll detect like what printer, what firmware it's running, and what features are enabled, so that you don't have to spend any time configuring it. And when we make these printer profiles, um, a lot of the information comes from working with people who with beta testers who are using an earlier, early builds of Quinley for that printer and telling us maybe how certain routines should function, and telling us what different configurations are possible for that printer. So I mean, the CR10 is a good example because some of them come with filament out and some of them don't come with it.
Hmm.
So we need to still be able to say this is a CR10, and if it has filament out, this set of functionality becomes open in Quinley. But if it doesn't, then we have to make sure that Quinley will still work reliably as best it can, even though it doesn't know whether or not filament is out.
Yeah, so this is like an octoprint, but instead of having to configure it, it's like it's pre-configured for every printer and it already knows what printer is connected to. So you
Yeah,
just plug it in and it's like, yeah, let's go.
basically, yeah. And the whole point of designing it that way is so that you get a very uniform experience um, in the future when we start to roll out the farm automation with our pro version. um, you should be able to connect just how you can install Quinley on any printer. You should also be able to connect and use any printer in your print farm and
Hmm.
not have a completely different experience based on what printer is connected. So if I want to have a mixed print farm that has Ultimakers and Prusas and Enders and Sidewinders and whatever, they will all show up and you'll interact with them in very similar ways in Quinley. Um, and then Quinley will do all the translation for you to get jobs to run on the different machines. Now, at the moment, you still have to, slice for the hardware that you're going to be printing on. But towards the future, we're looking at things like, how amazing would it be to have printer agnostic G code, right? Because like,
Hmm.
what are you actually changing between prints?
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of stuff is only possible with um, by building a printer agnostic platform, but also by working with the community that knows those printers very, very well.
Yeah, like that could be a thing where Quinly detects what printer you're using, and if you have G-code sliced for, your Prusa that needs 1 millimeter retraction, it could like change the G-code to print on your Ender, which needs 5 millimeters retraction. And they have like similar hot ends, so you actually just do it and it works.
Yeah, and so that's the kind of thing that we're planning to, set up forums with the community and actually discuss like, okay, how would we get something like this to work? How would it need to work?
Hmm.
How do you want to be preparing your G code for this feature set. And this feature set is just one example of the types of things that we're um, trying to design towards with Quinley. Because how amazing would it be, you um, maybe you're a factory or you're a hardware design firm and you have a whole bunch of customers and you install your printers at the customer locations, and then you can just prepare your G codes where you are, and different customers might require different levels of 3D printers. So some might need big ones, some might need small ones, but just being able to create one file that could print on any printer that would kind of be the dream from a designer's perspective. And that's the kind of thing that we want to work towards. We want to make Quinley as right now the hardware is printer agnostic, and the software for every printer we support is agnostic so far. And we want to start unifying the experience even further in both directions, in the sense that the parts that are coming off of your printers should be uniform and should be checked for quality, and the files that you're inputting into Quinley should be simplified, in the sense that maybe you have to do less printer specific slicing, or you don't care what printer actually prints it. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that we have to discuss with you. I noticed there's a lot of chat going on, so we should catch up. Justin asks, does the Sidewinder need a firmware change? So that's something we've been working on in the background with the software, is trying to make it so that you don't have to change your firmware on your 3D printer in order to connect Quinley to it. Right now, the Enders are the only ones that use custom firmware configurations. But that being said, some of the new Enders, the firmwares that it comes with are already supported. So you don't even always have to make firmware changes to the Ender. And we're trying to move away from that. We don't want to supply firmware that doesn't come from the printer vendor.
Yeah. Ender, we kind of learned our lesson there, having over 30 different firmware versions.
Yeah, now it's 30. Yeah.
Like it's not fun.
Justin says that's him, the mixed print farm, but he's got more Prusa than anything. Yeah. It's super common to have a mixed print farm. It's not
You have someone
rare.
Someone else excited for Quinley Pro? That's coming up.
Yeah,
BD.
I'm excited for Pro too. Chris is asking, are you beta testing Prusa Mini? We have it in our pipeline. We haven't officially started the beta for it. If you want to join and have your say for how it should be implemented, make sure to sign up on our website. If you go to our store page, we have a section for signing up for beta.
Yeah, and actually for Prusa Mini, that's one of those printers where we need like a minimum number of people in order to start working on it. So if you know other people with a Prusa Mini, let them know. And the more people that sign up, the more we're gonna do it. Like Prusa Mini is kind of on our radar. It's not like a for sure thing though, but it's on our radar.
Yeah, we've been hearing mixed success with it in print farms, but if there are enough print farms running them, that's the key to actually creating a Quinley kit. It needs to be able to work in any environment, so we need a lot of people to test it. Otherwise, if we develop it here in our vacuum, in our own office, we use it a certain way, and it's immensely beneficial to have 10 or 50 people that all use it their own certain way, and to see whether the system can stand up to something like that, because it needs to in order to be reliable.
Yeah, and for a printer like the Prusa Mini that could have a couple issues with like long-term printing, maybe it does just need a stainless steel extruder gear or some other small tweak that Prusa didn't think of because they don't expect people to run it this hard. So when we have like a good pool of people that are testing it differently, we'll be able to figure out like, okay, yeah, get Quinley, and we recommend just upgrading your extruder gear or something. so that it doesn't clog or something.
Yeah, like really weird things happen when you automate, which we have to account for. Like our Prusa, the bed cable broke. The bed heating cable
Yeah,
broke. That's like
just
the
from going back and forth.
last thing you would expect to break.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's like okay, like, how do we make
Yeah,
sure that
it
doesn't
was
happen?
pretty bad because it's the heater cable. Like tons of current goes through that. That's like a
Yeah,
fire thing. So
fire hazard.
I don't know. They had decent strain relief on it too. I don't know how it broke.
Exactly. Okay.
Machine Creators says
Well,
Quinley Pro.
Alice says, I know Simplify 3D adds all slicer settings to the front of the G code. Do other slicers do that?
Yeah,
They do, but they do it in their own way, which is part of what makes it very difficult to work with. And
yeah,
we already use some of that to determine how to deal with files from different slicers. That's why we just in this recent update we rolled out support for Prusa Slicer and Super Slicer, but that's why we're kind of rolling one slicer at a time because it's so difficult. Every slicer slices differently. They have a different engine, and the Quinley software needs to know and account for that um, in order to deliver a consistent experience.
shout out to Machine Creators, by the way, helping us get Super Slicer
Yes, yeah,
compatible.
he figured it out. He figured it out.
What is
What is the
Pro?
pro about? Loyal Moses on Twitch has given away 30 of them in the last month. Wait, Justin, what did he give 30 away from? Oh, minis, maybe?
That's a lot of Prusa minis.
Oh, yeah, minis, he said.
So just to answer your question, what Pro is the next level of Quinley software. So it's Quinley, but for print farms.
For
So
professional use, basically.
yeah, for professionals. So I mean, Mateo, you probably know more about it than I do. Um,
I
but
do.
it's like a software upgrade for Quinley
Yeah.
that has a lot more benefits than what you already get.
Yeah, it's more about like for actual production use. Maybe pro stands for production and not for
Ooh,
professional.
Quinley production.
Only production. But
Mm.
yeah, it's more about if you're running 3D printing for your business, it's starting to open up features in terms of farm management. Like if you have an operator, you would want a dashboard that tells you the status of all the printers and what needs to be fixed on each printer, that kind of stuff. Obviously, remote connection if you're planning to build a distributed network with printers in multiple locations. Pro is good for that as well because you can have multiple like printers in physically different locations all connected up to your account. Um, but yeah, it's a feature set that's mainly built around very high volume production use or professional use. It is pretty exciting. It's basically more advanced features of everything that's included as well, and we plan to tailor it towards yeah, more towards actual professional use. So things like when we're discussing now this isn't planned for the initial release, but you can expect things like Shopify or storefront integration, that kind of thing will end up in pro printers. And also things like bulk printer management. So because if you have a bunch of printers connected to your account, you can manage a bunch of them at the same time. Like sending files to selecting all the printers you want to send a print job to, or having it, you know, scheduling a queue on each printer or whatever. Justin 3D says so many slicers equals a nightmare to configure. Yeah, that's my daily nightmare is working with slicers. Chris is saying I'd really like the King Rune KP3S, but I think the Prusa Mini is much more common as a small volume cantilever.
I'm just gonna Google what that is. I haven't seen the KP3S before.
It's one of those
Oh, it's another
cantilever style.
cantilever.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the Prusa Mini. Okay.
it looks like a Prusa Mini. Yeah, it's almost the same.
I guess Prusa Minis aren't new. That style of printers
No,
existed. I
the
think
Ender,
Monoprice Mini was one of the
that
first
was
ones.
the, yeah, that's the iconic one. And then there's Snapmaker and Ender
Mm,
2. It works like that.
yeah.
We have
One
one.
of our Ender 3s is an Ender weird cantilever,
Yeah, we've converted it.
so we can test bigger beds than the X-axis.
Is Pro the subscription one? Yeah, Pro is going to be a paid one. And again, it's meant for multi-printer business use. But when you actually look at the economics, and we'll go into that, it's basically costing you nothing. It's just like maintenance and development.
Yeah.
Alice saying, so sort of one Quinley to run multiple instances of hardware distributed across machines. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. You'll have one interface um, that will, yeah, basically you'll have hardware on each of the machines, and you'll be able to distribute those machines however you want, as long as they have to have internet or network access so that you can see them all in your account. Um, and you'll basically have one dashboard in which you can manage your whole farm, or manage, you could even have two farms loaded into one dashboard if you really wanted to, um, and do that. Machine Creators is in for Pro. Okay, cool. Well, you'll probably be betaing it anyway.
John Beatty.
I only pay the crew 150 an hour. Wait, I'm the only one.
You pay
Uh,
yourself 150 an hour.
that's actually a lot of people don't count their own time, especially when running Etsy stores. Like I look at some of the pricing on Etsy, and I don't know how the margins are very thin if you account for the labor, your own labor time, but people don't always count that, which
Hmm.
which is I think why we're seeing 3D printing fail to scale beyond a certain point. If you talk to a bunch of Etsy store owners, as we have, you'll see they'll hit a wall at about 12 3D printers, because it would they can't justify hiring someone because it'd be too expensive.
We should come up with a name for that, like the theoretical
The wall?
printer limit of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
You know how there's like that
That's like two printers though.
there... Yeah, true. Once you don't have Quinley. What's that? There's like that a bunch of these like mathematical names that people coin. So we should coin it.
Yeah.
The 3DQ limit is
The
12 3D
limit.
printers per Etsy store.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, that's what it is. Very few, some get up to 20, but um, it's difficult. It gets really difficult to run. Um, it gets really difficult to run more than that many machines, because they'll identify that it's too expensive to hire someone, but
It's
it's
that weird in between
yeah,
phase.
but it's hard to realize like the reason it's so expensive is it's actually too expensive to run even the machines you currently have.
Because they were working for free.
Yeah, right.
It was too expensive in the first place. Because your life on this planet is limited and valuable. You don't want to be scraping parts.
I run independent octoprints for each of my 5 Sidewinder X1s. When the beta begins, will it Quinley interface to one of those, or will it replace one? There will there's an instance runs each of your printers, and then those instances connect up to one another to give you a single dashboard.
That would
Um,
be with Pro.
yes, yeah, I think they're talking about the Pro beta.
Mm. So I
Machine
think
is
that
saying, asking, Machine
okay.
Creators is asking, do you need the Pro Plus to break the 12 printer limit?
Mhm.
So no, there's no hard limit in any of the Quinley software. Like you can put as many printers as you want. We were just saying that with manual printing, there seems to be like a soft limit at around 12 to 20 printers, because it becomes too expensive and labor intensive to add any more machines. At
Mm.
about at above 12 printers, every printer you add will take your time away from the other machines. So if you add a 13th printer, you're not going to have time to run the first printer. And so your returns on new machines diminishes very quickly.
There's like that law about the more moving parts you have, the worse your efficiency is.
Right.
And I know in like manufacturing lines, there's a whole thing where people try to limit moving parts just because at some point, if you have so many moving parts, then you're just gonna have more downtime than
Right.
production.
I saw a
Yeah.
guy on YouTube that contracts people to print parts for him at their houses. He supplies the printers and the filament. That's
Weird.
interesting. Do they know how to run the printers?
You need to tell this guy about Quinley.
Yeah, he should run them all in his own house.
That
Or
seems like a really weird business.
maybe because the people he gives the printers to don't get paid for their time. They
Maybe
get
they
paid by
get
getting the printer.
they
I
could
could
use
see
it in
that
their
working.
downtime.
That could work very short term. But
Give it
then,
to high school students.
yeah,
They'll get good at it.
yeah, definitely. If he used Quinley's for that, he could have, well, depending on his use case, right? He could just set up Quinley's in their houses and run the Quinley's from his house, or he could just run them all in his own house and wouldn't have to contract anyone. Okay, he's putting the video on Discord. That's gonna be interesting.
Also, just to go back on the previous point, I don't think there's a limit to how many Quinleys you can connect to
There's not.
Pro. So you could like have 400 printers. You could have 400 printers? Is there like a ridiculously high limit?
There's no
Or
limit.
is it infinitely scalable as long as you have
I mean, it's not infinitely. So
I guess you need an infinitely big
Pro,
computer for it to be infinitely scalable.
yeah. Well,
But
no, because each printer gets a Pi, so we leverage that.
yeah.
So your computing power does scale with the number of printers.
Mhm.
But the protocol we use, like it breaks down at like 2,000 printers or something.
Oh.
We're gonna do testing later this month. Actually, I
I guess you
don't.
could probably simulate tons of printers.
Max is not watching, but yeah, this is like way
Oh,
on
I
a
think people want to
tangent.
know how many printers you can run on a Quinley
Yeah, this is
with Quinley.
way on a tangent, but we're going to actually test how many you can run.
Very
We're
cool.
gonna test that. But yeah, like it was from the beginning, it was designed to leverage like having to have a Pi for each printer so that it would kind of scale indefinitely. Oh, don't show that.
No, it was because Machine Creators was like laughing at it, so I wanted him to get a good view.
Okay, so he said he only sells two parts, hose adapters for Glowforge, and then sells them on Amazon. Yeah, he should just switch to an automated system. That
Just
seems
get
like
one Quinley.
unnecessarily complicated for what he's trying to do. Like if he got I'm assuming they're small parts. Like if he got 5 printers or so and the parts are 2 hours, like how many could he do per day? He could do 60 a day.
I wasn't paying attention.
12, what did I say?
I'm not doing math in my
Five
head
printers,
right
2 hour parts,
now. Oh, per day you get
60.
12 parts per printer per day.
60.
60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty good. 60 per day. And you can easily scale that further. I mean, 5 printers is not that much.
So that's 60 per day. Say you sell each of them for $10, 600 a day times 30, it's like 18,000 a month.
Yeah, I'm sure he's
You're already making 200K a year.
not
That's pretty good
not selling that many. There are some
if you don't have
people,
any profit.
there are a lot of people who are making that much, and some people using Quinley are making, like, can make that much too.
Yeah, well, Quinley's like the hidden gem of passive income. It kind of makes that possible.
Yeah, it's like having an injection molding machine in your house.
Low key, just dropping the bomb of this is the
It's
best
like
thing
mining.
ever.
I wish we could get the same hype behind it as mining. Like install a 3D printer in your house and just print
I mean,
parts and sell
technically,
them.
it's basically Bitcoin mining with a lot more steps.
Yeah,
Like you have the thing that uses electricity that produces value. You have to touch it a couple times a month,
yeah.
and
Switch
you have
the
to
bill
sell the
off.
things that it produces. But
Yeah, yeah, but it's really close.
you don't get $30 a month from running it on your computer every
Yeah,
month. You get
you could
like
get like
a lot more possibly.
you could get like $200 a day off of a printer depending on what you're printing.
Yeah, as long as you can sell it.
Okay, Justin, or sorry, John posted it. in business talk. Okay, we'll follow up on that. That's interesting.
That's our section of Discord, by the way, where people talk about how they're using automation for 3D printing for their business. Good tips if you're an Etsy store person or if you're trying to sell your 3D prints in any way. Hit those guys up. Well, us up.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there's a good wealth of information there. And I think it's probably the most concise group of people on the internet that you'll find that do 3D printing for production on an automated system.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a very specific subset of
yeah,
people.
if
but
you're that person, join because
yeah. Or if you're interested in it.
yeah, our Discord's great. A lot of people I see on the chat are already in the Discord, but if you aren't yet, it's great to join us and continue any conversations that we're having on the stream here. So the link's in the description. I'm sure Kevin, Jack, and the boys will welcome you on real quick.
So we kind of gone through all of this stuff that we had planned for today. I guess we can talk about the current betas, CR10, CR6, and Sidewinder.
Yep.
So those are active. Those are being shipped this week. Ultimaker got shipped. The CR10 and Sidewinders are sitting in boxes after the stream. I'm going to be dropping them off. We showed previews of them, but the real interesting part of the beta is when it gets into your hands, seeing whether you can break Quinley and then challenging us to fix it.
A heartfelt plea from us, please break Quinley.
Yeah, please,
do your best.
Please break it. And then we'll find ways of fixing it and improving it.
Yeah.
Because once we've broken it and fixed it enough times, it won't break anymore, I hope.
Yeah. So we did come up with a few potential things for just to get you guys brains working on this. So for the CR10, for example, we're trying to print big parts. So we want you to print as big parts as possible, like take up the entire build volume if you can, and see what happens when parts get released. Like maybe there's some different part catching solution that you need, or maybe something on the printer doesn't work at the very top of the Z-axis or something.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is the tilt angle on the CR10. It's at 20 degrees. That should be enough. The Prusa's at 20 degrees. But who knows if you're running really fast accelerations on the y-axis, for example, maybe you're going to get a layer shift or something. Maybe you have to tune acceleration down. So this is stuff that we don't know yet. So we also have like 6 different versions of the CR10, like 7. The CR10S, CR10 V2, V3, CR10 Pro, V2, and just the CR10S Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I butchered a few of those, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of different versions, so you need to make Quinley compatible with every one of them. CR6 SE, I know like Justin 3D I think has some of these, but it actually uses the nozzle itself to do the auto leveling, and I think it'd be really interesting to see how that works with the vapor bed. Should work because it's just using like a strain gauge to figure out when it's getting pressure. But who knows, it could be slightly different from how the glass behaves. We have confirmed it doesn't destroy the vapor bed.
Yeah.
We've pushed our nozzles into the bed using other probing techniques, and it does work.
The Ultimaker does that.
Yeah, the Ultimaker. Yeah, and also we don't want to be doing firmware for these printers, so we're going to do our best to not have to update firmware. So for the CR6, for example, we're going to try to not do firmware updates. Yeah, and also for Sidewinder, in particular, because it has that sheet metal, it's got a really different method of tilting. So actually, one of our engineers, Carlos, come up with this clamping mechanism that clamps onto the sheet metal. So we need to see how well that works for you guys, and if it's the same for the X1 and the X2. So just a few ideas to get you guys thinking. If there's more, there will always be more, but part of the beta process, part of being a beta tester is figuring out what things are problems and trying to come up with solutions to solve those. So we don't know everything that's going to go wrong. Um, so it's up to you guys to figure out what's going wrong and also to propose a solution,
Hmm.
um, or at least tell us what's going wrong so we can figure something out.
Yeah, and also as part of the beta test, because we are asking you to break things, you will get, if you break something, you'll get more parts to replace it. So
Yeah.
don't worry about that. Or if we need to change a part, you'll get the files to reprint it or to try a new design. So we had some comments while we were talking about that. Um, Al was commenting that because he's in such a niche market, his sales come in spurts. Someday he gets $600 or $700. Other day he gets nothing. Yeah, which is kind of common for niche markets. And one thing that might be a good strategy, which Thornhill Woodworks does, although I think he has very consistent sales, um, is he uses Quinly to create a buffer of inventory. Like it's still a very small buffer, but it's a buffer nonetheless, so that when you do get a massive amount of sales in a single day, he can fulfill that. And on days that you might not be getting as many sales, you can then start building up that buffer again, um, to kind of smooth things out. Otherwise, you'll keep running out of inventory. And while Quinly and yeah, well Quinly automation and 3D printing is extremely good for just-in-time production, it's something we've learned even now is we do still keep a small buffer of inventory. So we keep about 20 kits of each kit, like of parts for 20 kits produced at all times, but we don't keep more than that. So we don't actually use that much space for inventory, but we still have um, a healthy buffer in case we suddenly have to sell a whole bunch of them,
Hmm.
or what. So it is, and then the other thing that you can do with the printers is you can balance your production. If you have a more steady demand, you just balance your production rate with the sales rate. So that way your inventory is constantly flowing through, and you're not having a lot of money tied up in parts sitting on a shelf somewhere. Um, Mr. Buddha is asking, can you elaborate a little on the price difference between the Ender and the Prusa? It looks as if it's the same parts for both, or consumers paying a Prusa tax due to it being a higher end printer. So, like, it's not in the way that you would think. The Prusa is a higher end printer because it has more features and more tools for things like calibration. It's a much better built printer. And so in order for Quinly to fully leverage all of those things that Prusa has, we have to develop support for a lot more features. So the Prusa Quinly, even though it's still plug and play, there's support for a wider set of features and a wider set of use cases than for something like the Ender. And you'll see that too, like in terms of the kit itself, like it's designed differently for a more, like for a higher end use case as well. So we use better materials in the Prusa. We use higher temp PET Gs instead of PLA. We've designed parts a certain way to work better with the Prusa use case. And then of course, all the software functionality and firmware functionality that the Prusa provides has to be supported in Quinly as well. Whereas the Ender like doesn't have any sort of hardware failure catching. So it is like a completely different, there's a whole bunch of extra features that come with Prusa being a higher end machine that then we have to support with a higher end kit, if that makes sense.
So some of those being like auto calibration, crash detection, filament run out. There's potential for like Quinly, for example, to run an auto calibration cycle after every like 100 prints or so. Ideas like that we haven't implemented, but Prusa has a lot more built in to work with. Um,
Yeah, it has a lot more sensing that Quinley can work with,
yeah,
which is why like it's a much more sophisticated kit because it's going on a much more sophisticated printer. It's the same reason that the Ultimaker kit is more than a Prusa kit. There is a little bit of extra hardware, but the primary thing is that we have to build out an entire feature set that won't obstruct the Ultimaker user's experience with the Ultimaker. And Ultimaker has a lot of features built into their firmware, into their software, into their cloud platform that we have to correctly integrate with. So it's a much more robust, higher end kit, even for the Ultimaker when compared to Prusa, when compared to an Ender. So that's typically how we scale the pricing. Um, it's like pretty much directly correlated to the amount of research that has to go into supporting that machine. Um, Bob and Justin were talking about using a Pi Zero W2 for Quinley. Actually, Machine Creator's got it working. It's not officially supported yet, but I think a couple weeks ago I talked about using the Rock 64 um, Pi alternative, and as part of my work with that, working on creating an image that I'll pass on to Machine Creators to Jeff, um, for him to test on the Pi Zero W2. The only problem with Quinley on the Pi Zero is that it takes a really long time to boot. And one thing I'm not certain of with the Pi Zero 2 is that the Wi-Fi on the Pi Zero Wi-Fi used to interfere with the function of the printer of the like it just used to take up too much resources, but it seems like the Zero 2 doesn't anymore. So yeah, that is actually, in parallel testing. Um, I'll be Jeff doesn't know it yet, but I'm planning to send him uh an image to try on the Zero 2. Yeah, he says he's been running it. Sorry, I'm just catching up on the chat here.
we got a question from Chris about how the V rollers hold up during continuous production, and we've used Ender 3s, the same Ender 3s for about 2 years, and the V rollers are fine.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we only replaced them on printers where they were incorrectly set up in the first place.
Yeah,
You
like
just
sometimes you just crank a little too hard on the eccentric nut and it creates a flat spot on the wheel.
Yeah,
It happens to the best of us. Sometimes they come with the
they come
printer
pre-flattened for you.
pre-flattened by the people who assembled it.
Yeah,
So sometimes it's just how it is. Um, but those rollers, when you tune them correctly, they don't wear out significantly um, over any amount of time, I think. Like you're probably going to get bored of 3D printing before your V rollers wear out.
Uh, Al is asking, what about running Quinley on an Android tablet? Actually, at our very first trade show, we were demonstrating the software on Android tablets. Yeah, it runs in a browser, so anything that has a browser on it. We don't support mobile screen size yet, but one thing we did do with the UI redesign, Catalina, the designer, kept in mind to make it touch friendly, so all the buttons are pretty big. Um, so yeah, you could run it on a tablet. I think that will actually be the preferred method for print farm owners down the line because you could just walk around with your tablet.
Yeah, we have a picture actually in one of our
Oh yeah, in our
thumbnails for another
thumbnail.
live stream of like me holding a
Yeah, in
tablet.
front of the
It was really fun to take that picture.
right. Yeah, you
That was my hand.
you just yeah you loaded in the browser, right?
Yeah,
So it does work.
I had my hand there. Olivia had to take the photo. It's good.
Oh my gosh, there was so much chat. If we missed something, if we missed a question you asked, please just post it again. Um, Kevin and Steph are excited. We're getting 25 thumbs up on this video. That's awesome. If you haven't given it a thumbs up,
Oh no,
do it now.
was Justin, if the nozzle is hot, it could scar it. Was that maybe about the nozzle touching the bed? It doesn't scar the bed, but I think it like does leave a color, but it doesn't interfere with
Yeah, I don't,
printing.
it wouldn't. It would have to be sitting on the bed for a very long time to mess it up.
Yeah, like the way it probes, it just like gently touches. It doesn't ram it in like what happens if you try to run it without an end stop, which we've done.
Oh, I see what Al is asking. Sorry for interrupting you.
That's okay. I was done.
Quinley on an old Android phone like Tom did the other day. So we're working on putting Quinley into a Docker image, and I think that would let you run it on Android.
Quinley from anything.
Yeah.
I know people have been asking for that for a while.
Yeah,
Some people.
Max did it on the weekend. We just need to make it smaller.
Cool.
Yeah, but
Very
it
good.
works. It works. Yeah, this is behind the scenes stuff, but we saw everyone in Discord asking for it. I know some people want to run multiple Quinleys from one like computer and then just have USB ports going out to everything. And yeah, we're happy to support that. It's so hard to get a hold of a Pi 4 these days for a reasonable price that we have to just adapt and support other hardware.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will. We're testing it with a Docker image. We've also got it running on other things like the Rock 64 runs on, Jeff got it running on the Pi 02. And it's running natively on the Ultimaker controller. So like that's not even a thing. It's like not even a thing you can buy.
Mm. Yeah, I was just checking the Discord. Apparently, there's some weirdo on there.
Did they get banned?
I think so. I don't see them.
Okay.
If there's still a weirdo, let me know. Everyone should have all our staff, I think, now have the power to
Yeah, they do.
ban people. So yeah,
Hmm.
we had a weird thing happen over the weekend where like
It's just Discord spam.
yeah, one spammer came and spammed us. So no,
Now everyone's
we're still new to this, man. I didn't expect a Discord spammer to show up
yeah.
on Monday morning.
Just wait until you get the DMs about NFTs.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, people are gonna sell you on anything.
So I guess for those of you that are joining later, we're talking about beta testing for the for new Quinley kits. Specifically, we're shipping out the Ultimaker CR10, CR6, and Sidewinder kits this month. Actually, Ultimakers have already started shipping, and I guess we should talk about the process. Like, what does a beta program actually look like?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a bit of a timeline here. Somewhat rough timeline, but we're gonna try to stick to it. So what we're doing is we're having like a week one period where you get your kit and put it together, build it, and pretty much just tell us how easy it was to install Quinley. So if you have a Quinley, it should be quite straightforward. The whole software setup's the same. The hardware, though, is where you could see issues. So things that might look easy to do in the instruction manual might not actually be easy to do in real life.
Or might need more photos.
Or might need more photos, yeah. And so where we created beta versions of the instruction manuals for all these printers, but they're not finished yet, and we actually might ask you for photos showing how to do specific things if it's unclear with just text or like SolidWorks screenshots.
And I know this is like the worst audience to ask to read instructions.
Yeah, these.
But if you can't figure it out from our instructions, then we know we have to make changes or make them more clear. And we actually, yeah, instructions are a very important part of the kit of anything really. And it's something we still iterate to this day as we get feedback or as we see, people might run into problems setting up their Ender and we'll put that into the instructions. So yeah, it's pretty critical to have good instructions, and that'll be a big part of the beta.
Hmm. So after you got your kit built, we're gonna ask if you could send a photo of it so we know how it looks, and it'll be good to sort of see how um, you guys are building it, if it's actually the same as what we intended, basically. Um, so then in the second and third week, you're just gonna start printing, basically. We want to see um, how easy it is to calibrate your printer once you have a new vapor bed on it. Um, you shouldn't need to change your printing profile too much, but if you do, um, for example, like first layer adhesion settings are different, um, let us know, or we'll let you know. Depends on if you have issues or not. Um, and then also, we want to sort of get you moving towards continuous production. So, for the first one, print off a calibration cube, print off a benchy, but then we want to get moving into continuous production. So week 4 of beta testing, we're going to hope to have people starting to get like multiple days worth of printing unattended. And what we're saying is when you get 3 days of unattended continuous printing, then your printer is like reliable enough to be like an actual fully functional Quinley. Um, so at that point, when you are happy with the function of your printer, when you think, yes, this Quinley is working for me, then we have a final feedback form where we'll ask you some questions and you give us some answers, hit submit, and then your beta testing duties are over. Um, so we only want you to send that form in when you're actually happy with the Quinley as you have it. So if it's not working for you or something, then we'll actually send you files to print, or we'll send you new software, or maybe new firmware. Hopefully not, but we'll send you the stuff that you need to get your printer working to the point where you're happy with it as Quinley, and where we're happy with it as Quinley. So yeah, you can submit your final feedback when it's working for you, but we're going to try to get that done on the 4th week.
Yeah.
Again, it's rough. If it takes 6 weeks, it takes 6 weeks, but we do want it to take, we want it to be working as soon as possible, because
yeah, it's not fun when
is...
it's not working either.
Yeah.
It starts to wear.
It does, yeah.
It wears on you a little bit.
The wear of testing.
Justin saying, do you have the Wagster mod with BL Touch in mind? So this, I don't know what this is.
What is the wax?
But that's exactly the type of feedback that we're looking for.
It's for the artillery Sidewinder.
What is it? Just a mod? Like a mount? Does it require custom
I think it's
software?
just because the Sidewinder maybe doesn't have the BL Touch mount built into it. Sidewinder X1.
If you put a BL Touch on your Sidewinder, it will work.
Yeah.
It's fully supported.
We want you to have a BL Touch on your Sidewinder.
It'll work. Al is saying, what are instructions?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, we don't know what they are.
Writing instructions is almost as bad as reading them. IKEA furniture. This should be more intuitive than IKEA furniture, I hope.
These kits are getting a little bit more simple in terms of hardware. I still don't recommend not reading the instructions, though they're very important.
Yeah.
But we're trying to make the kits simpler to assemble.
Tad HGD is saying, I'd love to help beta test, but I don't have a printer that can connect to Quinley. I have a Prusa Mark 2.5, but it's modified and would be difficult to install anything on. Tad, I'd say join the Discord. I don't know too much about the Prusa's main board, but there might be a chance that it could work. It depends on what main board you have in there. Justin saying, so first week of December printing. Yeah, so first week we'd be aiming to pretty much within December have you running your printers 24/7. You have Vapor in 180 by 180 millimeters. Those will be made for if the Prusa mini beta reaches enough interest. For the X1. We're doing both X1 and X2 Sidewinder, right?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, Waxer mod is a BL touch install using the LED. So as long as you modify your firmware correctly for that wiring on the Sidewinder, it'll work fine. It should connect correctly to Quinley. If it doesn't, we'll discover that during the beta period and we'll fix it, basically. Uh, oh, he's got the old Rambo board. Oh my, that is old. I had a Rambo board for one of my printers. I don't know.
Ramps. One of my printers has a Ramps 1.4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of those Arduino Mega Shields. Just
Oh, wow.
it's very noisy.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I replaced the drivers on it, so it's not anymore, but it used to be very noisy.
If you know enough people with Prusa Mark II or Mark 2.5s, and you want to start a Prusa Mark 2.5 beta test, if you get enough people involved, like we'll happily support it.
Yeah,
Oh, I see this.
we go by demand.
Yeah, like it's if those printers are out there and people are using them, then we'll support it. I don't think it would necessarily be unsupported, but I don't know what the feature profile of the Prusa 2.5 compared to the Prusa 3 is. So, like you'll probably be able to send prints to it, but if it's got its own way of detecting filament out, that might have to be updated to work.
Yeah, I don't see anything stopping us from supporting Prusa 2.5. It just doesn't make sense unless a lot of people want it.
Yeah, let me look.
For a printer that no one's buying any more of as well, it's somewhat hard to justify because everyone's just going to be buying Prusa Mark III at this point.
But I mean,
if you have a bunch of people,
Prusas are very reliable, so someone might just have a whole ton of them.
Yeah, well, I know people were doing print farms before.
Yeah.
The 3. Oh, does the 2.5?
It's a shorter one.
Have aluminum extrusions? Is that what they do? Is that the 2.5? Because I know that
2.5 has a metal frame.
Yeah, no, but the 2 had, I think it was threaded rods at the bottom instead of those 30-30 extrusions. Interesting.
Like this.
Yeah. I know like some people running the Prusa Bear mod, and that's another one that's kind of on our radar, but there's just not enough people yet for us to fully officially support it.
Yeah, like our goal is to be able to support every printer. But we're basically starting with the ones that most people have, that most people are using for actual production. I saw the channel was posted in Discord, so we should probably try to get in touch with that guy. Okay, he's saying you can send prints to it instead of choosing Octoprint. It's just my Prusa's like significantly modified to the point of being a massive pain to work around. So that'll be more tricky. Because the thing with Octoprint is you have all the options. If you're a very technical person, you have all the options to go in and work around all of your own mods. But with Quinley, the point is you just kind of plug and play. So we would have to build all of that support in. Yeah, 2.5 is metal frame with threader rods. There, it's full extrusion.
Yeah, I mean, if your printer isn't supported by Quinley or super custom, I always try doing the Ender 3.
Yeah.
Quinley on an Ender 3.
See if it works.
Because if you get good prints out of a Prusa, that means you know how to do 3D printing. And if you're trying to scale up your 3D printing, maybe just try it on an Ender 3.
That's actually a good point. Like if you were to scale your print farm, would you buy more 2.5s and modify them in the same way that you already have, or would you consider a different printer? It's those printers that are very scalable that we're starting with. I mean, the dream is to be able to just be like, yeah, every every printer is supported, but it
Mm-hmm.
it does take a bit of time and takes development, right? It takes
Yeah.
development work. I think we're
We're
kind of
still
hmm?
we're still just a small group of people
Yeah, we're
doing this. Like
not a huge team.
we want to support every printer, but we have to do them one at a time, and that takes time.
Yeah, but 5 per quarter is not bad.
Yeah, that's our unofficial aim goal. 5 printers per quarter, 20 per year.
Yeah, 5 printer models.
So we did this year. We started off with the Ender, then Prusa, Ultimaker, Sidewinder CR6, CR10. Technically also Ender 3 Pro V2 and like the 7 versions of CR10.
And the
Sidewinder
in
X1
between
X2.
versions of Ender
Oh yeah, the
3.
weird Crealities
Fun.
dumb
Really? No.
versions of the Ender.
Yes.
Can I say that?
Yeah,
It's annoying.
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. It's okay. Creality's cool. Just stop changing your boards. Or your drivers.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean, if we're at the end of our agenda, so it's just us in chat right now. I'm a direct drive person. I changed my Ender to direct drive and Beal Touch, so it costs more after mods than a mini. Yeah, I mean, it can be worth it. Like, you always have to consider, like, are those mods going to improve the productivity of your printer? Because if they do, then they're very worthwhile to combine with automation. Last week we were talking about getting those new, what are those high flow nozzles called?
The CHT.
Yeah, the CHT nozzles. If you combine double the flow with a 24/7 system, you're essentially making you're running double the parts in the same time, and in which case it's a very, very worthy upgrade.
Yeah. It could be the best bang for buck upgrade. $20 for twice as much printing. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome. I know Machine Creators has actually got some, so
I know he's like our. We should just bring him internal at this point.
yeah, he does a lot of
So
he
much
pushes
testing
Quinley
for him.
really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're watching, Jeff, post a picture of your setup because we actually got a request from Favaloo to share photos of if you guys have any cool photos of your setup or parts that you're printing on Quinley and you want them to show up in a major 3D printing news outlet in an article, please share them to us in Discord because we'll happily send them over. They actually requested that we send photos of the community's setups.
Yeah. If you want to have your Quinley setup shown on a news article, just let us know. Send a picture. It's in the business. Is it? No, it's in Post Your Setup on Discord. It's in the Post Your Setup channel. Post a picture there, and we'll send it to the news guys, and you could get featured on an article. So
Pretty fun.
that could be pretty cool.
It
Yeah,
is
you
pretty
could be
cool.
in 3D printing news.
Oh, he's gonna set up a fancy shot. Okay, nice, nice. And we'll of course we'll credit you in the photo, make sure that your name's in there as well so people can click on it. Okay, chat just went by. Justin3D says more reliability with direct drive than Bowden. And if you get more reliability, that results in less downtime. And that's extremely important with automation because you're running your printer so much harder. Any reliability issues are going to happen more and more frequently. So if it's worth it, yeah, it could be worth switching to direct drive just because your printer won't be down as much.
Yeah, if you can even if you can change your reliability from like 99% to 99.5%, then your printer's going to be down for half the amount of time.
Yeah, you'll see that savings in the span of a week. Like
Yeah.
99, we got 99.7% uptime on the farm test that we did, that we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like a massive number, but that was still 3 hours down that week.
Yeah. 1.5 to change filament though.
Yeah,
And then I think we had 2 nozzle clogs,
right. But it's still like
which,
it's tangible time. Like
yeah,
99.7 is, I mean, it's really high compared to 3D printing now, which is 35%. But when you're looking at production, that's still 3 hours a week that you have to.
yeah. Well, I think actually Steph did the numbers and found it's like closer to 15% averaged across all printers in the market.
Yes,
Most printers work 15% of the time
it was.
generally.
It,
Like of any printer, all printers that exist, about 15% of them are printing right now.
do you know how that was calculated?
It was about something about all filament sales
Yeah,
versus all printer sales and the average grams per hour of printing.
yeah, yeah.
Do the
So
math, you can figure out
like,
about 15%.
yeah, a really generous would be 20%, but
Yeah.
it's probably
I mean, if you look at
15.
the printer that you have at home, how much time is it actually printing?
Right.
It's probably not printing all the time unless you do production.
Do you plan on supporting the boron kit printers? It is kind of in our potentially for the next round of betas. Um, it's yeah. Again, if you know a whole bunch of boron owners that would be crazy about automation, um, get them to sign up because that is what'll get us to develop a kit the fastest. But yeah, we're looking at boron and we're also looking at rat rig.
I know they have a Discord. We should probably get in on there.
Yeah, we should
Send some
just ask
messages.
them, be like, hey, do you guys want us to develop a kit for this? Um, did SCC send pictures yet? We have pictures from SCC from before.
1,000 print hours in 5 days. It's because it was across 9 3D printers. So it's 24 times 9 times 5, which
Yeah,
is probably good. 24 times 9 times 5, 1,080.
yeah.
So there you go.
Except
That's
we
your math.
didn't. We just ran 1,000
We
hours.
didn't mention that we did 9 printers at the same time.
Right, right, right. It's a print farm that did 1,000 hours of printing.
Hmm.
Um, right. Sorry, I misspoke there.
That's okay.
With the mods I've done, I now run about 99.5% uptime, zero post processing. The only time I touch it to start the print and remove the product and clean the bed. But like when the print is done, how long is it sitting on the print bed? Or have you perfectly scheduled it to do that? Um, that's a real question because we've spoken to people who say that they run at like 85% uptime, but then you find out that they're not running on Friday night or over the weekend or early in the morning, like midnight onwards. And then you
Yeah,
realize like, oh, they're not running 85% uptime. They're running 85% uptime, 5 days a week, 9 to 5. But outside of that,
that's like 30%
yeah.
uptime.
So I'd be curious to know like how actually how you're setting up your printer to do that
Because, yeah, I don't think 99.5 is reasonably possible unless you're next to your printer
at all
all
times. Or
time.
you schedule batches, which
Yeah, unless you can be there every time it ends, do it really quickly, and then start it again. I mean, maybe that's what you do. Some people are really good like that. But I know certain prints, for example, like long prints that can only fit on the bed diagonally, for example, and take like 4 hours to print, they'll be done in the middle of the night. You're not going to remove it. So I don't think it's possible with
yeah.
every size and shape of print.
So
Oh, he says, yeah, sometimes it sits idle while it's done. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
that's
so
part of the
yeah,
automation.
we'd count that as downtime as well, that it sits idle during the day. So that's actually something that people don't count, which is why you'll see a really high numbers published. Like, yes, while it's printing,
It's
the
100%
the
up.
printer is printing 100% of the time while it's doing your file, but then when it's waiting for you, that is downtime that with Quinley would get eliminated. Yeah, I go to the shop and then it's done when I come home. So
Mhm.
if you had Quinley, it would have already started your next print before you came home, and that time wouldn't be lost anymore. Um, yeah, I would imagine that the boron printers would be a relatively good idea to automate since they're already fast and reliable. And that's exactly the type fast and reliable printers are exactly the type of printer we want to work with first. It's just a matter of getting enough people willing to test out there so that we we don't, we can complement the reliability and speed of those machines instead of, accidentally working against it for some reason. Um, Speaking of Warrens, did Thomas ever try the Quinley? I shipped it last week.
Oh, you shipped it.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah,
So it's in the mail.
it's in the
Off to
mail. Off
Thomas.
to Thomas.
Try our thing.
Yeah, yeah. Alice says exactly why I joined the beta. Exactly. That's why everyone should join because then we can. I think a really cool comparison to maybe something to think about for the program is to take a survey before of like how much printing they were doing and then a survey after of how much printing they were doing.
Yeah, that's true. We should get some stats.
Yeah.
Oh, Tad, I cannot pronounce that name, sorry.
Oh,
Tad,
Tad.
Tad. I'm just gonna say Tad.
Okay.
What I do when I need many things printed quickly is you have all the prints 24 hours long and then you just print them one a day. So
Right.
yeah, we see like that's kind of the workaround that a lot of kind of high volume printing people do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's probably the most efficient way to run a manual printer. Um, but we've seen this many times when you batch prints like that. If one fails, the whole batch fails. I'm sure you've had that happen before. Um, and also you have to slice your prints so that it will take 24 hours. So that means you're probably spending a bunch of time figuring out your print settings. You have to print all your parts with the same settings. You can't customize per model.
So,
There's limitations for
yeah,
slicing.
there's
Like you
limitations.
can, but it's really complicated.
It's like you're spending time in prep now. You're pushing a lot of the time into your prep, and now you have to consider like, okay, how do I make that parts add up to 24 hours? Or, if you're getting 23 hours, you're still losing an hour a day of printing.
Hmm.
Machine Creator says Quinley downtime can be shortened by adding a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, especially in the winter. It's really fast.
Our downtime is controlled by the laws of thermodynamics. So yeah, get a fan. He's talking about a bed fan to cool the bed down faster.
Hmm. Right now with 5 printers, I'm lucky to get 7 or 8 parts done in a day. Usually it's 4 or 5. I hope with Quinley that goes way, way up. Yeah, I think you'll see that. I think like even I was when I no, I don't usually use my machine at home very much. I just print stuff at work. But um when we were doing the Ultimaker beta, I would send like 30 parts to be printed and just forget about it and then be done like a day and a half later.
Yeah. So one of the cool use cases is our Ultimaker kits have 27 printed parts, closer to 32 because you have to duplicate some. So what I've done before is I've queued up the entire Ultimaker list, so like 32 different parts, and have them queued up over a weekend and on one printer. And I'll come in on Monday and like the whole queue finished and they're all different parts. And I didn't have to touch it. I just sent them on Friday. I came back on Monday. Quinley did its thing and yeah, it worked out really well. So um, if you have a lot of parts that are different that need specific slicing settings per part, super good. Um, if you're running even like prototypes, for example, if you have to reslice all your parts for a new color or something, um, yeah, the queuing function in Quinley has a lot of benefits that you might not find with batching 24-hour long prints. Um,
So
yeah.
Ted's saying he's got an Octoprint plugin that lets him cancel individual parts in the build plate if it fails, but then that also means you have to spend time monitoring your printer manually.
Yeah.
So it's there are ways like people have come up with dozens of workarounds to the manual process, and I think they've become so ingrained in us that you don't even realize that you're actually by doing these workarounds, you are saving you are making your machine run more, but then you're also shifting your time to things that, are not fully worth doing.
Yeah, you're working for your printer instead
Yeah,
of getting a printer to work for you.
that's a good one. Exactly.
So that's what Quinley does. And actually, yeah, like next year we're probably gonna have to come up with like a cooling fan for the bed upgrade that you can just buy and install it real
Yeah,
quick
I
because
think
this summer really messed some people up with the heat waves and stuff.
yeah, that's something that we learned. But and I think we'll try to roll that out with the pie kit maybe when we reintroduce it.
Hmm.
Maybe just have it include a fan.
Yeah, well, we could do like a cool, super functional Quinley like you can get a kit with just the parts, or you can get like everything with all the bonuses and
Yeah,
super features and whatever.
because some people would want to do heat management, like custom heat management,
Yeah.
might not want the fan.
I mean, like, what if so like people that want like Quinley Pro right off the bat, maybe also would be the kind of people that would benefit from like the 5% cooling time
Yeah, that is
saved by the cooling fan.
that's a good point to mention is with the cool down time, you're talking about now like optimizing that last 5 or 10%,
Yeah.
where you already gain, a 2 or 3 times increase in production just by switching to automation. And once everyone is on automation, those 5% can be very, very valuable. So I'm not saying it's not something we're looking at. In fact, we recommend people do the fan cooling mod because it cuts that last bit of cooling time that you have to deal with. A fan mod is a really inexpensive mod that cuts that in half for you. Oh my gosh, chat is going by so fast.
To catch
Sorry
up.
if I miss a comment. Several magnetic plates that I swap between when printing, to be careful that, like, because you're moving parts in your printer, that it doesn't
Watch that Z offset.
yeah.
Different thickness plates could cause bad
Cool
stuff.
down time equals downtime. It is downtime, but there's ways of optimizing it. Like we've actually changed over time the formulation of the vapor bed so that it wouldn't have to drop as cold anymore. Like the very first iterations would have to go to 26C.
Hmm. Oh
Um,
yeah, we went pretty low.
yeah, we had to. We were dropping them to 25 in our first farm,
Yeah.
but now I know people are running PLA at 32, 35 sometimes.
I think DBS Coach was running ABS at like 45 or
Yeah,
50.
you can do it. So that's feedback we got too, was like make it so that you can adjust the release temp in our software. We added that, and people seem to be using it a lot. But yeah, things like ABS, it might even be worth, for the shorter cooldown time, switching to a different material, because ABS works really, really well with the vapor print surface. So you could print ABS and do release at like, going from 95C to 50C is much faster than going from 60C to 30. So
Mm.
you could even consider switching materials
Yeah. It's also super fast print speed.
with ABS.
ABS, it liquefies into thinner liquid. So I know people that do speed benchies print them in ABS so that they can get those lines going faster. We got some money math in the
Steph's
chat.
doing some financial analysis. With the X1, I used to have a lot of bed adhesion issues, but I've solved that recently. Yeah, and hope the vapor bed does make it easier, but you have to get to know the nuances of it. I mean, the nuance of the vapor bed is you just print a little bit hotter than you usually would, like 10 degrees hotter.
Yeah.
What setups do you like for printing ABS and clothes apart from the Ultimate? Oh, Ultimaker.
I know you can buy those
Yeah.
like insulated enclosures that just wrap around your printer.
Or the lac enclosure made from IKEA's table. Um,
You do need to have a way for parts to come out though when you have a Quinley, so
yeah.
um
Although
either
we printed ABS open air because the adhesion is just so insane.
I print ABS open air at home.
Yeah.
If the parts are like if they don't cover a huge build surface on the plate, it's probably fine.
Hmm.
Like I printed ABS with like relatively like small build footprints, unenclosed and
I've done bigger parts
with my
and it was fine.
I haven't pushed it really, but
Yeah,
um
you can do like I was printing a pie enclosures
oh yeah.
in ABS and they were fine.
Yeah. So
And
I think
they're like a really warpy shape, thin walls and a huge base.
yeah, I think if you're gonna do ABS on a Quinley, just try it unenclosed first. See how it goes. Um and then just go from there. You might need an enclosure.
Depends on your part.
Yeah, and also certain materials just are designed to print better.
Yeah.
So it can be dependent on your material. Oh,
Tada.
Al has found the perfect settings. That's what I recommend.
That's pretty much exactly what we use on Vapor. Although sometimes I go hotter for the first layer. I'll go to well, I go to like 245 for PLA.
Yeah, we print real hot over here.
Yeah, it's toasty.
All your Quinley parts out there are printed at least 230 degrees,
Yeah,
maybe 235, and it's all PLA. Everyone's
but
gonna
they
be
get
like,
printed.
"Oh, what are you talking about? PLA is a 200-degree machine." No, no,
No, I
no.
used to print PLA at 280, so going up 50 degrees is a bit shocking. I'm curious actually, Tadachi, if you said what printer you're using.
You said Prusa 2.5.
Oh, he's got two Prusa 2.5s. Got it.
I believe that's what it was.
Al is saying he can usually print an order in a day if there are no color changes. I mean, that makes sense because he's printing
Ooh.
5 pieces per day.
I wonder how that works. You could have a different printer set up with different colors.
Yeah, and then
Um,
that's what Quinley Pro would help with because it would assign your jobs based on color.
yeah. There's also just the idea of just printing a buffer of parts
Yeah.
in all colors, but
Not 280.
depends on 280 for PLA. I printed PLA at 265 before, no joke, but
245 is the hottest I've.
yeah,
But
280 is a little bit.
we do 180. 180 is what I started with, and then here I've learned that yeah, over time I learned that 230 is what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, Machine Creators does 230.
Yeah, I only recommend printing hot like that if you're running a big nozzle and you're printing fast.
Really fast.
Like if you're doing high quality like 0.1 millimeter layers,
No.
no, go down to 200. But that's not like Quinley productivity speeds. That's like, your artsy, high quality
Well, you can
organic
do
shapes.
high quality production. You just need a few more printers.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're doing like super thin layers, then you don't need the heat.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It
but
will
yeah,
wreck your.
Quinley gets better the faster you print. So we tend to just maximize print speed while keeping good quality. A lot of things to optimize. Makes it all pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a balance of like 50 different things.
We found like vase mode at half millimeter layers is the best, and it's super fast and it looks really good. Hot tip.
I live in Canada and I print 210. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean
I live in Canada and I print 230.
230.
We all live in Canada.
Yeah, we're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
But yeah, 230 is because we print like 0.8 vase mode very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0.4 nozzle, 2 millimeter height. Then you wouldn't go up to 230.
Yeah, 220 is pretty reasonable. 210.
Yeah, 210.
Yeah, depends on your nozzle size, your flow rate.
Yeah,
Al seems like he knows what he's doing. Ooh,
that is
that's a
fast.
spicy print speed though. 125 on a large CR10
At what temperature did
sized
he say?
printer.
He said
210.
210.
I think
You
that's
have a
kind of
good
pushing it.
hot
I would put it at 220. Does Sidewinder come with the Volcano?
Yeah.
That's
Or it comes with
probably
a long nozzle.
yeah, that's probably why it's fine. because we have like the V6s. That's why we print so hot,
Mm-hmm.
because it spends just a small time in the chamber, like 5 seconds or something.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Optimize it by switching to winter.
Oh, if we had thought of that.
Just control the seasons.
That's true.
It's weird because
It's like
Quinley gets more efficient during the winter. It's just the
yeah,
way of
because
how it is.
it's like when they set up Bitcoin mines in Iceland
Yeah.
because it's cold there, get the natural cooling.
Well, I think they also have infinite free energy because of geothermal.
Yeah, that's true. That's another good reason to do it. Oh, I see. 210 is good for the MMU. That's good.
Oh, MMU. That's something that we're still working on.
It got shipped back to Jack. So Jack's gonna work on it.
Ah, Jack's pet project.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have enough to do already. He's got 30 3D printers or something.
I wonder how many are working.
One,
Let's see.
maybe.
We'll ask
The one
him.
he's working on
I'm
at the
sure
moment.
he'll tell us. Yeah, the one he's working on right now. The others are in like various states of being upgraded.
Yes, we are Canucks. We're Canadian.
I think that probably about does it for this stream. We ran out of script a while ago. It was fun talking to
Yeah.
everyone in chat. It's been awesome learning about how you are using 3D printers for your production. And yeah, if you sign up for the beta like Al did, it's gonna be awesome to see how that changes when they install Quinley on it. Oh, I know Jack. No, it's Jack. He keeps advertising you all to me.
Yeah, Jack's one of our OG members too. He was
Yeah.
in right around the time actually like Flipsaw joined, which is also one of our OG members.
True.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good job, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Shout out to Jack.
Yeah, hopefully he's not pushing it too hard to an insane degree.
Mm.
But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. It's been really fun. Yeah, and if you're interested in the beta or you want to see a printer automated and you know a bunch of people who have that printer, the key to getting automation working well is to have it tested in as many environments as you can. And that's why it's important to have a whole bunch of testers giving their input, making sure that the automation works how they want it to. And yeah, like make sure to sign up if you're interested. Get your buddies to sign up too, and who knows, maybe you'll be helping design the next really cool 3D printing feature.
Yeah.
Kevin says last chance to smash that thumbs up button. Let's get to 30.
Well, subscribe to us too because we're gonna do live streams every week for the foreseeable future.
And next
except
week,
for December. Might not do it during Christmas, but we'll see.
Next week we have a really cool live stream.
Yes, we do. This one's gonna be cool.
Yeah, we'll be streaming with the 3D Print General, and we'll be talking more about the AI project that we've been working on, using machine vision to detect different types of 3D print failures. I think we'll be doing that over on his channel. So make sure to tune in next Wednesday at the same time, 4:30 PST. Yeah, that's going to be a really cool discussion.
Yeah. So 3D Print General was the first YouTube review of Quinley.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was our first presentation to the wide audience. So yes, he's kind of one of our one of our favorite YouTubers.
December 1st, save the date. Wait.
Oh, is that when we're doing it?
No, we're doing November.
We're doing next week.
Oh.
Well, Steph knows.
Steph knows. We switched dates. I'm so sorry. Wait, I'm waiting for confirmation from Steph. Oh, right. We didn't do it today. December 1st?
I don't know. Ask Seth. I can't see it.
Hope she's listening.
December 1. Well, she's listening. She's been talking.
I think I think it's December 1. It got moved.
Okay.
Okay.
So
December 1.
tentative December 1.
Not next week. Just keep an eye out. If you're subbed and have alerts like Al does, thank you.
Yeah, ring that bell.
You'll hear about it. Today's asking, was the Quinley beta testing discount? It depends on the printer, I think.
Yeah. So actually, the beta testing discount is, so every Quinley has a retail price, a pre-sale price, and a discount price. So I'll just give an example. For the Sidewinder, the retail price is $349 US. We take off $50 for the pre-sale and an additional 50 for the beta discount. So it's $100 discount. Same thing for the CR10. It's like a 50 off and an additional 50 off because you're a beta tester. And so those prices will remain, like if you're a beta tester, you can buy multiple kits at that beta testing discount, up until the point where we're no longer during beta. So it's kind of like if you can get in early, it's definitely going to be worth your while. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to help make Quinley better and more suited to your needs. And you're just going to help actually propel innovation in 3D printing. This is like a new way to automate 3D printing. We're able to do it reliably and actually like make
in a scalable
products
way.
effectively and reliably using this. So yeah, you'll help us build like the future of 3D printing and possibly change the way people think about 3D printing as more of a manufacturing technique rather than a prototyping solution. So yeah, if you want to be a beta tester and help us make 3D printing much better than it already is, you can either send us an email at well, it's on our shop page. We should actually probably do that
Just info
demo.
Sure.
We'll pull up the website here just to show how to get signed up as a beta tester. But yeah, you go to our website, 3dq.com. There's a little shop button up in the corner. Click it. There's a beta testing. Actually, there's a pop-up that'll show up. You can just sign up from here.
You got doxed.
I got doxed. Say hi. And then beta testing, you can click that button up in the corner and type in your email, and you should get an automatic response telling you what to do. Usually just respond to the email that you get once you sign up, and let us know what printers you've got and what you want to do. If you don't have a printer that's supported, or if you have a printer that we don't support, let us know, because that kind of builds the demand for that printer on our end, so we know when to actually say like, hey, a lot of people are wanting this, let's actually do it. So yeah, get in contact with us, let us know. We're still accepting orders for beta testers, and we will continue accepting orders after we ship kits. So for like the next 2 weeks at least, we'll be accepting beta testers. We'll have a cutoff at some point in November. Haven't decided yet, but at least for this group of printers, we're still accepting beta testers, so it's not too late.
Yeah. Good
That's what we're
summary.
doing. That's beta for Quinley. Thanks for joining us on the live stream, guys. Good chatting with you.
And just to clarify one last time, next week we will be on 3D Print General's channel, November 17th. And December 1st is when we're going to have our live community conference where you guys will be able to vote on printers and features that we should work on next in Quinley. And we'll be talking about some of those features in the live stream next week. So I definitely recommend you guys check it out. But that's it for us for today. Another fun stream. It was great talking with you. And
It was a good stream.
continue chatting in Discord. All right.
Cool. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.